We're talking today with Mr. Harry Jelsema of Allegan, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Now, Mr. Jelsema, can you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself? To start with, where and when were you born?
Okay, I was born on a farm 2 miles south of here and a half a mile west on 100th Street. I was the youngest of 6 boys in our family, and all my brothers have been deceased for a number of years now already. And my father, he was a muck farmer, raised celery and onions, and I the latter years, after I was growing up, I helped him working on the farm, raising celery and onions and parsnips and carrots and that stuff.
Now, was he able to keep the farm through the Depression? Did he keep his land?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, this is like I said, that's probably what made a living off the farm, you know. Like I said, I don't remember how old I was, but I do remember that when he finally got the farm paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that it was before I went into service.
Right. Now, did you finish high school?
No.
Okay. How much schooling did you get?
Went 8th grade.
Okay. And after you finished 8th grade, what did you do?
Helped my dad on the farm.
Mm-hmm. Now, were your older brothers also helping on the farm?
No. They, as soon as they got old enough, they worked elsewhere, found jobs elsewhere. Some went in a factory, and some of them helped other farmers.
Okay. Now, do you remember how you heard about Pearl Harbor in the beginning of the war for America?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor, and that's what started the whole thing, actually. Plus, they was already, I guess it was already, was he already fighting the Nazis at that particular time?
Well, we weren't yet. But the Americans weren't officially anyway, but the British were.
Oh yeah.
And so you weren't paying a whole lot of attention to the news or things like that in those days?
Well, like I said, that was quite a few years before TV came into the world.
Right.
And the only thing, we had a small radio, but like I say, I don't recall too much about Pearl Harbor, but I do remember, we went to see one movie, and there was one movie made about the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor, and Saving Private Ryan was 100% more authentic than what the movie they made of the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor.
Okay. Now, to go back to kind of what you were doing at that point, so 1941, Pearl Harbor happens, America declares war.
Yeah.
Did you consider enlisting at that point? Or?
No. In fact, because I got a couple of deferments helping my dad on the farm. But then, then I guess the last time that we applied for a deferment, they wouldn't give me any more deferments. So anyway, I got drafted in the summer of July.
Of 1943, was that?
Of 44.
44.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not drafted until 1944. Now, once you were drafted, where did you go for training?
Camp Robinson, Arkansas.
All right. Now, what sort of place was that?
It wasn't far from Little Rock. Yeah, like I said, it was an army camp, and there was a lot of recruits that took their basic training there, and they taught you close order drill and spending time on the rifle range, and then you went out and bivouac for about 2 weeks, and then you had at the end of your basic training, I think it was you had to, I think it was a 15-mile march that you had to survive. And like I said, put it this way, if you wasn't in shape when you went in the service, you was in shape after you got out of basic training.
All right. Now, because you had been doing a lot of farm work, were you in pretty good shape already? Was this easier for you than for some of the other guys?
That's a good question. When I went in service, I weighed 137 pounds. When I got out of basic training, I weighed 155.
Mm-hmm. So you built up some then?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. How did you respond to the military discipline and the rules and all of that?
Well, it made a man out of you. What I mean to say, I was brought up in a Christian home, and my folks, we attended church regular. Only maybe about 3 blocks from here, mm-hmm. And. Like I said, I wasn't the type of person that, never got in trouble.
Right. So you could take orders.
Yeah. You, like I said, you would definitely have to take orders too.
All right. Now, once you completed basic training, where did you go next, or what did you do next?
We went. I think we went to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, mm-hmm. and that's where a staging area was. And in January 1, 1945, we boarded the Queen Mary and sailed for overseas.
So you only had the basic training course? Did you not have an advanced infantry training or anything else like that?
No. I think it was 14 weeks, I think, of basic training.
Okay. So it's basic training and then straight on over the ocean?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. What was the boat ride like for you?
Well, this was the first week in January, mm-hmm. And it was winter time, and I think there was the Queen Mary is a very large ship. All smaller ships, when they went across, they had destroyers for escorts.
They went in convoy, right?
Right. Yeah. The Queen Mary went by itself, mm-hmm. because it only took 5 days to get across. But every 5 minutes or something or other, somewhere in that nature, they changed course. So to if there was any submarines in the area, they couldn't get a bead on them to attempt to destroy it.
All right. Now, had you ever been on a large ship before?
No.
Okay.
But like I say, that it was rough going across. And there was probably, I don't know how many. There was probably between 4,000 and 5,000 troops on there, mm-hmm. and if with all our Army gear, we all had steel helmets, and probably 50% of the troops were carrying their steel helmets around with them because they was getting seasick.
Right.
But it didn't bother me.
Okay.
No.
Now, did you manage to get out on deck at all, or was it too cold or windy?
Oh yeah, you could get out on deck if you wanted to. Yeah, but like I said, the waves are so high, so you might get sprayed, you know, if you get up there on top.
Now, where were you bunked on the ship? Were you above the water line or below, or do you not really even know?
I can't really remember too much about that. No.
Did your bunk go up and down a lot, or were you in the middle of the ship?
I think I was more or less in the middle, because I don't recall, you know, that there was a lot of action going up and down.
Good. Well, that may have something to do with not getting sick.
Yeah, possibly. But
All
like
right.
I said, I went for boat rides prior to that, you know, and waves never affected me that much.
Okay. So you make it over. Now, where do you land when you get across the ocean?
We went, well, we went to England, and I don't remember how long we stayed there. Maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. I think maybe we stayed there, and then we boarded LCIs, them are landing craft infantry,
right?
And then we went, I think, to Le Havre, France, and then from there we got on troop trains to go to as far as they could go to the front lines.
All right. Now, did they send you to a replacement depot? Did you go to a place where they sorted you all out for where you were going to go?
Yeah.
All right. Now, on the train that you traveled on, were you in passenger cars or were you on the box cars? Like the 40 by 8s?
Yeah, I think we was in box cars, I think, yeah.
That was how they moved a lot of the soldiers at that point.
Yeah, right.
All right. Now, once you got to the replacement depot, how did that work? What happened to you there?
Well, they have officers from the company that took recruits or replacement recruits, and they directed us where we took us to where you might say. The company that I ended up with at the particular time, they was in a holding pattern. They were not moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Were they occupying a stretch of front line somewhere, or were they in reserve, or?
No, I joined the unit. We was in the Hurtgen Forest, which you probably have heard of, and it was, it said, they said that there was not a tree in that whole forest that had not been hit with artillery shells. And that was one of the worst things to happen, because if an artillery shell hits a tree, it's going to explode right there, and that'll do considerably more damage than if it lands on the ground and bursts.
Right, because the ground would absorb some of the shock and some of the shrapnel, but here you get all of the shell blowing up and whatever goes off the tree.
Yeah.
And it's coming down on you, so even if you dug in, you're in trouble. Now, there had been very heavy fighting there. Some of the worst fighting of the whole war had gone on back around November and into December.
Yeah.
Now, you were joining it in January?
Yes.
Yeah. So by then, so it was a little bit quieter by then. The Americans were not attacking heavily then?
Yeah, they were moving considerably, you know, like I said, the Battle of the Bulge had just got over with, and like I said, that's when I ended up being a replacement, yeah.
All right. So you're joining an infantry company that's with the 8th Infantry Division, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And specifically, let's see, the 121st Infantry Regiment.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now the company, so you were joining a rifle company?
Yeah.
All right. Now, had this unit taken a lot of casualties? Were there not very many veterans left, or were there just a few new guys coming in?
Well, That's kind of hard for me to answer because I'm new there.
Right.
And you don't know anybody else.
Okay.
So like I said, I know some of them that had been through a lot already, you know, but then how many or how long some of them had been at the start of the war, I can't answer that.
Okay. Now, when you join a particular platoon or squad, how are you greeted, or what happens when you get to your unit?
Well, we was, they was all dug in when I joined them, and yeah, like I said, I don't know if we was there for a week or something, and we was all living in foxholes. Yeah.
All right, so you're getting to know somebody then.
Oh yeah,
You're sharing a foxhole
and
with them.
there was usually people in foxholes were never by themselves. There was always two persons to a foxhole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, at the time you joined them, were the Germans patrolling or making attacks toward you, or did you patrol toward them?
No, they weren't bothering us at all at that particular time. Like I said, it was kind of a lull in the action, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what was the weather like when you got there?
There was snow on the ground. Yeah. In fact, some of the pictures of a couple of books that I brought along, there's pictures in there of snow on the ground and stuff. Yeah, it was cold.
All right. Now, what could you do to keep warm?
Probably exercise or jump in place, you know, just to keep warm. And of course, yeah, we had heavy overcoats and mittens and.
But you couldn't build a fire in a foxhole.
No way, no.
Did they get you any hot food, or did you just have to eat whatever you had with you?
They had a kitchen that was in the back further where we came and got a hot meal once in a while, and we also ate K rations part of the time, and that consisted of a little can of Spam or a little can of ham and beans and whatever, you know, and a D-bar in there, and that's and also every K ration had a little pack about that long, about that thick, 4 cigarettes in there, and I never smoked before, so I said, well, what do I do with these? So that's when I started smoking.
So you didn't just start trading away the cigarettes instead?
Pardon?
You didn't just trade away the cigarettes instead?
No, I started smoking then.
All right. Now, about how long was it before things started to happen for your unit?
I think we was maybe there in a holding pattern, maybe for a week or 10 days, and then we all moved out and moved forward, and that's and of course, if you got like I said, there's 121st Regiment was several companies, you know. Like I said, you start moving out, you got quite a crowd of soldiers, and like I said, they spread out, and like I said, you never want to congregate in bunches, because if anybody has spotters out and sees that, you know, they'll call in artillery or whatever, and
So were you advancing across open country? You were in the Hurtgen Forest. There's still what's left of the forest.
Yeah, we moved out of the forest at that particular time. Yeah, and there was one particular instance where we had to move across an open field, and I would say it was probably close to 200-300 yards open field before we get there's a line across there where we could get under some cover again. And anyway, yeah, and we took some casualties there because the Germans were firing on us with small arms fire. Yeah.
Did they have mortars or just machine guns?
Yeah,
or?
they had mortars too. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Now, once you got to the other side, did the Germans just go away, or?
Well, they was retreating at that particular time. Yeah, because it was getting, yeah, the like I say, the worst battles actually were probably already done. In fact, the Battle of the Bulge, I guess they lost quite a few troops in that skirmish too. Yeah.
Now, do you have any idea of where you were at the time? Were you in Germany? Were you in Belgium or Netherlands?
We were, to my knowledge, we were close. Well, I don't know if we was actually in Germany or in Belgium. I don't know.
Right along the frontier there.
We was in the vicinity. I know because then we crossed the Ruhr River, and then we went from the Ruhr River to the Rhine River, and then crossed that. Yeah, and the engineers, the Germans, they blew up the bridges so we to keep the troops from getting across the river, and the engineers, they built bridges, and yeah, they also took some fire during building them bridges.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, while you were advancing in Western Germany and the Rhineland toward the Rhine, were the Germans fighting back? Were they still retreating? And just... Somewhat, yeah.
But
on the whole, was your company holding together pretty well, and most of the guys were still there?
Yeah. Well, we had some casualties too. While we was moving up, yeah.
Did you have any close calls yourself at that time? Were there things landing a little bit too close to you?
That's something I can't answer. What I mean to say, if there's a bullet was meant for you, but they missed me by 3 foot, I'd never know it, because the 88, which was a big shell, you could hear them coming.
Right.
But as far as small arms fire, you can't hear it coming.
So you wouldn't know you were being shot at or something was close to you until it was already past you.
All I can say, somebody I think was with me, and I made it through without a scratch.
Okay. Now, what did the countryside in that area look like? Or was it mostly farming areas or forest, or were there villages? Or
no, like farming area. A lot of farming area, and then there's a lot of small towns, and like I say, I don't know how much you looked through that book or either one of them books, but there's a lot of pictures in there that business places, big buildings and houses, and like I said, they're just blew to smithereens. There's nothing left of them to speak of.
Well, the larger towns and the cities would have been hit by bombing as well as whatever fighting was going on. Now, did you see anything of the civilian population at that point?
At times, yeah. At times, yeah. And like I said, the civilians would be in hiding, and like I said, and they see us coming, and they all got a smile on their face because they was happy, that they was being freed.
All right. Well, would that be true in Germany, or would it be mostly in Belgium or whatever?
That was in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were at least relieved that maybe the fighting has passed them now.
Yeah, right.
Were you taking German prisoners at that point?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And did you get a look at any of them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What did the German soldiers look like to you at that time?
Just like you do.
Okay, just regular people?
Yeah, right.
You didn't notice how old they were or what kind of shape they were in?
No, well, no, like I said, they just looked the same as what you and I looked at that particular time, you know.
Okay.
And what I didn't see any German soldiers that were colored.
No.
So, no.
Well, there wouldn't be.
Pardon?
They didn't have any.
No, I guess you're probably right.
Now, did you see colored troops or black troops in the U.S. Army?
Pardon?
Well, did you see any on our side?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And what were they doing? Were they fighting or just driving trucks?
Fighting with us.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So was there a colored unit attached to your division, or?
No,
was just-
but they was right in with us.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, the bazooka carrier that carried the ammo for me, he was I don't know his name. I don't remember his name. Sanchez. Anyway, I think he was a Mexican.
Yeah. Well, Mexican Americans, Latinos could serve in the regular army. They weren't segregated in that sense.
Yeah.
At least once you got out of Texas. But so they would serve alongside the white troops, but the black troops would serve in separate units usually.
Oh, yeah.
At that
Right.
point. Okay. Now, when you got to the Rhine River, was there a bridge that you could cross by the time you got there?
Yes.
Okay.
The engineers already had built one. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, when you crossed the Rhine and you got farther into Germany, maybe that's about March of 45 or late March or toward April or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, we ended up at the time of the war was over, I think it was sometime April 45, we ended up at a town in the town of Rhine, which is up in the northern part of Germany.
Okay.
That's where the 8th ended up, yeah.
Now, did you make any contact with the Russian army, or?
Yeah, that's where we ran into, that's where we met up with them, yeah.
All right. And did you get a look at them?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So what impression did you have of the Russians?
Well, I can't really answer that because, like I said, none of them spoke English like
Right.
we did, yeah.
But did they just look like ordinary soldiers?
But
or-
like I said, they treated us as allies, you know, and vice versa, we did too. Yeah.
And then you sort of meet up and then kind of separate and.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and then once the war ends at that point, do you go into occupation duty, or what do you do at that time?
No, we just yeah, like I say, we might you might say that it was up to us. We could do what we wanted to. You know, we didn't have no falling out. You know, where you had to report every morning for reveille and every night for retreat and stuff like that. And we were living. We were living in unoccupied houses at that time because and yeah, like I said, so like I said, and then they had a lot of small motorcycles over there, Germans, and anyway, and some of us soldiers would find one of them and we'd ride around on it if it had any gas, and run out of gas, we'd just look around and find another one.
All right. So your unit didn't have any particular assignment at that point.
No,
You were just waiting
no.
for something to happen.
Well, yeah, we was only there about after the truce was made, where war was over. We was only there for about another month.
Okay.
And then we went back to get on a boat to come back to the States. And the intentions were, like I said, now this is in, June.
June 45, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The intentions were at the particular time that we was going to come back to the States and have a 6-week refresher course, and then we were supposed to schedule to go to Japan.
Right.
And when I had a report back to a camp, that day the Japanese surrendered, and that ended that war. So that blew all them plans out. And of course, naturally, everybody was happy about it.
Sure. Now, let's go back over to Germany for a little bit. During that month when you're waiting for something to happen, so you do some touring around the countryside on motorcycles here and there.
Yeah.
Did you have any more contact with the German population than you'd had earlier? Did you see many people or deal with them at all?
No. Well, we just, we stayed more or less just, together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just minding your own business and talking to other Americans. And,
Right, yeah.
Okay. Now, the area that you were in there at the end of the war, had that been damaged much by the bombing raids, or was that in better shape?
Well, it was somewhat, yeah. But not like, it was not damaged to the point like Bonn and Cologne and Hurtgen and them, there was no building that was untouched through them cities.
Right.
No.
But this area was not as built up maybe and not as big a target.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
All right. Now, you get yourself back over to the States. So were you then discharged at the point when you came to report, or they just told you to go back home again, or?
No, well, when we got back to the States, everybody got a 30-day leave of absence for rest or R&R or whatever. And anyway, like I said, then when I had a report back at the end of them 30 days, that's when the Japanese had surrendered.
Right.
And and then I had a report back. I think I went back to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And then from there, the 8th Infantry Division disbanded.
Right.
And we went with the 2nd Infantry Division. And anyway, then I think we went from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri to, it's Fort Carson now, but at the time, back then, it was Camp Carson, Colorado. So like I said, I stayed there for, from, till the, for, I guess I was there almost 6 months.
So you're not discharged then until 46, was that?
No, middle of 46, you're right. And then I went, then we went to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas for that was a separation point.
Right. Now, what did you do during those 6 months when you were out at Camp Carson? What was your job?
A friend of mine and myself, we got transferred into headquarters company, and we worked in the office there. In fact, we was taking care of officers' records yeah. So, like I said, it's about like a 9-5 job here.
Yeah, yeah. And what did you do on your time off?
Oh, we'd hitchhike to Denver usually and spend the weekend in Denver. And yeah, like I said, I had a pretty good buddy there from Iowa. And yeah, and back then, yeah, if all you had to do was stick your thumb out once or two, well, maybe 1 or 2 cars would go by and then somebody would stop, where are you going? Going to Denver. Well, hop in. And then sometimes, yeah, they'd ask us about what we did and where we came from and how long we'd been overseas and all that. And they'd invite us over to spend the weekend with them, but, well, like I said, we wasn't too interested in that. But anyway, like I said, they treated us like real good people. Yeah.
Right. Now, by the time you got discharged, were you kind of tired of being in the Army? Were you ready to go back home?
Well, yeah, like I said, they attempted to recruit, to sign up for another 2-year hitch or whatever.
Okay.
But like I said, excuse me, no, I figured I had enough of it. I thought time to get out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, did you go back to Michigan when you finished?
Yes. Yeah.
And did you go back into farming or doing something else?
No, I went and I got a job in a factory then in Grand Rapids. Yeah.
And who did you work for then?
I worked for Keeler Brass.
And then did you stay with them for a long time?
No, I stayed with them, I think about 8 years, and then I went to diesel equipment for a year. And then there was a lull in the business, and they was starting to lay off people, and I didn't have much seniority, and I thought, well, I'm going to get laid off here pretty quick. So anyway, I thought, and I was always interested in learning a truck driving job. So anyway, before I got laid off, I had a good friend of mine, Hank Van Beek. He was manager of Steel Division of Michigan Express. And I went and talked to him, and he says, come on over. He says, we put you to work. And so, like I said, so that's what I did for about 20 years, until they went out of business. Well, it was kind of a planned deal, if you know what I mean. They had, Michigan Express was a big outfit. They had a furniture division that hauled ungraded furniture. And they had a steel division, and they had a freight division. They had terminals. Their main office was in Grand Rapids. And they had terminals in Holland, Kalamazoo, Jackson, Dearborn, Milwaukee, and Chicago. And like I said, they Matty Maroon was the guy's name who was in charge of Central Transport. And Matty Maroon, Michigan Express had some authority out of for the state of Wisconsin, and he wanted that authority because, yeah, there was auto plants and stuff around Kenosha and Milwaukee area. And anyway, so I don't know just what happened, but I think Gerald Rixey, who was the president of Michigan Express, I think he got paid under the table. And like I say, this was a planned deal because the Freight Division in Dearborn, they had loaded trailers with miscellaneous freight lined up along the fence. And instead of breaking them down and delivering that stuff, they just left the trailers set there. Okay, if you don't break down your freight, you can't collect no money, can you, because it isn't delivered. And so eventually they run out of money because of all the freight was on the trucks, on the trailers. And so that's what they did. They declared bankruptcy, and Matty Maroon took over. Central Transport took over. And so, like I said, so that's when I worked for Central Transport for, I don't know, a few months, but then I went with Robinson Cartage, which is a specialized hauler over here on Chicago Drive. Yeah, I was with them for about 8 years. But all the time I was with Michigan Express Steel Division and Robinson Cartage, I was what you called independent. I had my own outfit, but I also belonged to the Teamsters.
Right.
So like I say, so anyway, it was 1983 is when I retired from the road.
All right, now I want to go back to one other thing about your wartime experience, because we were talking before the interview started about what your actual job was. Now, you were assigned to a rifle company. What kind of weapon did you normally carry?
Well, just the regular rifle company. Most of them carry an M1. There are some of the squad leaders, which are usually sergeants, they might have a burp gun.
Right.
And there's also usually probably one person in each squad would probably also have a BAR.
Right. So he's got a Browning automatic rifle.
Yeah.
But then there were also other weapons attached to a company or a battalion.
Yes, there was heavy weapons, which had machine guns, and then you had a mortar company, too, yeah.
But what did you use?
Pardon?
But didn't you carry a bazooka?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Now, did you ever have an occasion to use the bazooka?
Only in practice, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in principle, a bazooka was supposed to be used against German tanks. Did you ever get close to one, or?
Well, what I was telling you about, probably I was as close as from here to the street to that one, and that that was still occupied with German soldiers,
Okay. So what kind of area were you in at the time? Were you in a field or forest?
No, it was a field, but the road that was coming up there where this tank was parked was a paved road, but there was a line of large trees alongside the road. So like I said, we was kind of, you might say, we didn't wear camouflage, like they all do today. But but like I said, to my knowledge, we was never detected, that they knew we was there.
All right. So basically, your unit saw the Germans, but they decided not to actually try to take them on. Was that?
Yeah. they backed off because of, because like I said, a tank has got some powerful guns too, ain't there, right? Yeah. And like I said, we didn't have, we had probably a radio man, that maybe could have called in artillery, but you got to know where your location is too,
Right.
and where to drop it.
Right.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you just had the bazooka, and if the bazooka didn't knock out the tank,
No.
then you were in serious
Right.
trouble.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So at that point, the situation was such where you didn't need to go forward right there at that time, so your officers decided you just go away.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we just backed off, and moved away from that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, are there other individual sort of events or things that happened to you while you were in the service that you tend to think back to that you haven't mentioned here yet?
Well, yeah, there was one person when, that open field that we were moving up against. There was one soldier that he wasn't a very big guy. Of course, I wasn't big either, but like I said, he was I don't know what happened, but he was by a stump there, and where everybody was moving forward, and he was hiding behind that stump, and he was just shaking like a leaf, and I don't know what you call it, but anyhow, anyway, I never saw him again, so I don't know what happened to him, But evidently, and there was, there was, like I said, there was probably over 100 of us stretched across, moving through there that forward. But and we was taking small arms fire, and there was a few soldiers that dropped during that move. Yeah.
Now, the fellow who was hiding behind the stump, was he a new soldier, do you think, who hadn't been in a battle before?
But very possible. I don't know. I didn't know him personally.
Yeah, because that could happen. Sometimes it would happen the first time you go in. Other times, if they've been in too many times, they just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And both things could happen.
Yeah. So.
Now, to look back on the whole thing now, how do you think your time in the service wound up affecting you? Did it help you grow up at all, or see the world differently, or?
Well, put it this way. It made a man out of a soldier if he wasn't one before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good experience, but for what I went through, I wouldn't want to go through it again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, just like this. My one daughter-in-law was over a little while last night, and anyway, I showed her that book of the 8th Infantry Division because I told her I had to come here today
Right.
for an interview, and anyway, she started talking about some soldiers now in Iraq. She says, they come back and stay stateside for a year or something. And well, I says, that is a civil war. The war that I was in was against another country, and where Iraq, half of the people are insurgents, and the other half of the people are good people and don't want to hurt nobody, right?
Oh, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's people, they're fighting each other, and we're in the middle of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I said, I classify that as a civil war myself, because, yeah, well, like I say, like these bombs that the convoys get run over and people get killed and stuff like that. Like I say, I don't know how many miles these convoys have to run, but evidently it's a long ways. And if they had to put guards out along that whole way, you'd probably need another 2,000 or 3,000 people, men, ain't that right?
At very least, that's right.
Huh?
Yeah, certainly. You need a lot more. You need a lot more than we ever had over there.
Yeah, right. And yeah, and evidently even I would, the way I look at it, I would presume that probably a lot of people that are not involved in it see what's going on, that they probably see people planting these bombs, but they don't do nothing about it because they're afraid to. Yeah.
It's a different kind of situations from the sort of thing that you were in at the time.
Definitely, 100% different. Yeah. Like I said, we was fighting against the country, and they're fighting, I don't know, like I said, they're fighting against some people, and there's other people that don't want no part of it. Yeah.
Well, part of what we try to do with this whole larger project, by getting all of these individual stories from veterans, is to find out, well, what was it like for you? What did you see and go through? We do the same thing when we talk to people who went to Vietnam or to Korea or who come back from Iraq.
Yeah.
The idea is let's get as complete a record as we can of what Americans go through in wartime, and by collecting all of this, we get a better understanding of what happened and what people went through.
Right.
And that's the point. And so we can see maybe what's different for you as opposed to them and all of that.
Yeah. I would presume, possibly the Korean conflict and the Vietnam conflict were possibly similar to World War II.
Well, parts of them were, and parts of them were, especially Vietnam, were a lot more like Iraq, where you were in the middle of a country and in the middle of a war where you didn't know whose side people were on.
Yeah.
In Korea, you had more conventional front lines and that kind of thing, so the physical battles were more like that.
Yeah.
But the experiences are different and the views of the veterans are different. And so I think that makes a good point for us to wind up this interview. So we'd just like to thank you for coming in and talking to us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I don't know if you learned anything, but like I say,
we learn something every time.
We learn something every time.
Yeah, well, I would presume so, yeah, right.